The 3 a.m. caller. I always hated night shifts, the hum of fluorescent lights making shadows seem alive. That night, the office felt emptier than usual, colder, like the walls were breathing. My phone buzzed. A missed call from an unknown number flashed across the screen, the time reading 3 a.m. I frowned, but shrugged it off as a prank. Curiosity gnawed at me. I called back. Silence. Then a voice. Low, calm, whispering my name. I froze, certain it wasn't human. The voicemail beeped. My pulse quickened as I listened. It spoke of something small. I would spill coffee tomorrow, and it would stain more than my shirt. I laughed nervously, convincing myself it was coincidence. But the next morning, the coffee tipped over, dark liquid seeping into my favorite jacket. That night, 3 a.m. again. Another call. The voice predicted my neighbor's dog would bark at exactly 3:15 a.m. My stomach tightened as the sound came piercingly on cue. I started sleeping with the lights on, afraid of shadows that might move differently now, afraid the calls weren't random, afraid the predictions would escalate. Each day brought small truths. A dropped pen, a forgotten wallet, a minor argument. The voice knew the minutiae of my life before I did. I tried ignoring it. Silence for a night. Relief. But then the phone rang again, at 3 o'clock exactly. My heart thumped. The voice sounded closer, sharper. It told me of something terrible. The streetlight near my window would flicker, hiding a figure watching. I looked out cautiously, seeing nothing, yet feeling all eyes on me. Sleep became impossible. Coffee burned my lips, the glow of my laptop screen too bright, too accusing. I wondered who or what was speaking and why it cared. A coworker joked about urban legends, 3 a.m. calls that know your life, but their laughter didn't touch the weight of reality pressing down. I checked my phone obsessively, scanning every voicemail, every unknown number. Each message contained precise knowledge of my day. Breakfast, emails, the way my keys fell. The predictions escalated. My car wouldn't start. My dog refused to enter a room. Every detail matched the voice's calm, clinical warnings. I considered leaving town, driving as far as possible. But the number always found me. No matter the city, the call came, always at 3 a.m. I asked friends, colleagues, strangers online. You're being stalked, they said. But none had a number that could tell the future, predict mistakes, accidents, arguments. One night I didn't answer. Silence stretched, heavy, suffocating. Then a new voicemail, different tone. Urgent, angry, insistent. You ignored me. You will regret it. I rushed to the window, heart hammering, seeing movement in the street. Shadows stretching unnaturally. Shapes that shouldn't exist in normal light. The next day, my apartment door was ajar. Nothing stolen. Everything moved slightly. My life rearranged. The voice had predicted it, as if guiding unseen hands. I began documenting everything. Every call, every prediction, every shadow. I felt my sanity fraying with each recording, as if the voice fed on my fear. The calls started giving advice, cryptic, dangerous. Do not answer the phone, it said. I did anyway. Every time, every prediction came true. I noticed patterns. Minor incidents first, leading to serious ones. The final warning always arrived last, with calm inevitability, like fate itself speaking through a wire. I started seeing it in other people. Neighbors glancing at their phones at 3 a.m., faces pale, eyes wide, whispers beneath their breaths. The phenomenon wasn't isolated. One night, I answered immediately. The voice said simply, "Tomorrow, you will see me. Do not look away." I froze, staring at the darkened room, unprepared. Sleep vanished entirely. I walked the apartment at night, lights flicking, shadows shifting, coffee cups trembling as if aware of my terror. The next call, detailed my future movements, minute by minute. Every choice already predicted, every step controlled. I felt trapped inside someone else's script. At 3 a.m., I heard a knock. Slow, precise. My phone buzzed, displaying one message. Open the door. My hand hovered, trembling. I couldn't. I hid. The knocking persisted, louder, rhythmical, almost alive, each second stretching impossibly. Fear rooted me to the floor. By dawn, silence returned. No one. Only the voicemail remained. New message. Tomorrow, you will understand. The unknown number never repeated. I moved cities, changing numbers, addresses. But it continued, morphing, adapting, finding me wherever I went. 3 a.m. never felt safe again. Now, I warn others quietly, subtly. The legend spreads through whispers and forums. It's real, it chooses, and it always knows. The last voicemail remains on my phone, untouched. I do not answer, but every night, I feel it waiting. 3 a.m. approaching like a predator. I tell myself it's folklore, a modern myth. Yet when the clock strikes 3, my hands tremble, my heart pounds, and I hear my name in a voice I cannot ignore. The 3 a.m. caller isn't a person. It's inevitability, a whisperer of fate, a shadow threading through lives, perfectly predicting, perfectly patient, and always watching. The whistling tree. The forest was old, ancient even. Its roots nodded like the hands of a long-forgotten god. Locals whispered children went missing here, swallowed by shadows and wind. I ignored the warnings at first, laughing nervously. It's just a forest, I told myself. But the air smelled wrong, damp and metallic, like iron and decay. The first night, I heard it a low, eerie whistle drifting through the trees. At first, I thought it was the wind. Then I realized it was repeating. Each note felt intentional, calling my name softly, impossibly. I froze, sweat dripping down my back, heart hammering. Shit, I whispered, stepping back. Branches seemed to twist toward me, scraping clothing and skin as I ran. The whistle followed, echoing between trunks rhythmically, like someone or something was playing a cruel game. I tried marking my path with chalk, ribbons, anything to track where I'd been. But the forest seemed to shift, paths looping back unnaturally, erasing my progress. A light flickered ahead, faint but unmistakable, like a lantern. I approached cautiously, thinking a camper or hiker was lost too. No one, just the light hanging in the mist, swinging gently. Shadows moved along the edges, twisting unnaturally, but disappeared when I focused. I found a small carving in a tree, a child's name scratched deep into the bark. Beneath it, another line. We are listening. The whistle returned, louder, closer. I stumbled backward, tripping over roots and rocks. My voice caught in my throat as I realized the sound was coming from everywhere. Hours passed, or minutes, I couldn't tell. Darkness swallowed time, but the whistling persisted, taunting, patient, like a predator with infinite patience. I shouted for help, my voice cracking. No response. Only the whistle, repeating my mistakes, mocking my fear. Something moved just out of sight. A small figure, swaying unnaturally, eyes glowing faintly in the fog. I froze. It mimicked my stance perfectly. Branches snapped behind me. I turned empty. Yet the whistle shifted, mimicking my voice, whispering, "You can't leave?" I climbed a tree to get a view. The canopy revealed more figures, dozens, watching silently, yet swaying like they were alive but not alive. Memories of local legends flooded back. Children vanished, forests claiming those who dared enter alone. The whistle wasn't a sound, it was a calling, an invitation. I started leaving marks on trees, arrows, X's, desperate signs. By morning, they were rearranged into strange symbols I couldn't decipher. I tried recording the sound, hoping evidence could help. The playback was garbled, warped, whispering unintelligible words that made my stomach twist. One figure stepped closer, a shadowy child with elongated limbs tilting its head, whistling the exact melody I'd heard all night. I ran blindly. Branches tore at my clothes, roots tripping me, yet the whistle guided me, always ahead, laughing in a soundless way I could feel in my bones. By a stream, I paused. The figures didn't cross the water, but the whistle circled me, teasing, echoing, like they could see my fear even from a distance. I considered leaving my bag behind, anything to lighten my load, to escape. Damn, I muttered, heart racing, realizing even my items weren't safe. The forest seemed to move them subtly. Night stretched endlessly. The wind carried hundreds of whistling voices now, layered, overlapping, repeating my steps, my mistakes, my panic. I stumbled upon a clearing. A massive tree stood at the center, its trunk hollowed and blackened. Whistling poured from inside, not wind, not animal, but something intelligent. I approached, compelled, terrified. The figures swayed in a circle, around me, watching, whistling, echoing, shaping the air with their intent. A small figure reached toward me. Not a child, not fully human. Its hand brushed mine. I froze, paralyzed by the cold, the knowing, the inevitability. I ran, straight through the forest, branches tearing at my skin, roots tripping me. The whistle followed, now a chorus impossibly loud, mocking, omnipresent. Morning broke. The fog lifted. The forest seemed normal. No sign of figures, no whistling, only crushed leaves and torn clothing to prove the night wasn't a dream. I warned locals quietly, mentioning the tree, the figures, the sound. Some nodded knowingly, some laughed nervously. But I knew the truth. It waits, patient, hungry, invisible. I left the town, never looking back. But even miles away, at night, the faintest whistle drifts through my dreams, a reminder the forest remembers. The whistling tree never forgets. The silent crowd. I moved to the small town for work, drawn by quiet streets and cheap rent, but the peace felt off, like the world had paused and forgotten something. Neighbors waved politely, smiles too perfect, eyes too wide. Their greetings lingered longer than necessary, leaving a chill crawling up my spine. The first night, I noticed lights flickering in rhythm across the houses, even when no one was home. The pattern unnerved me more than darkness ever could. Walking home from the store, I felt their eyes hundreds of tiny glances brushing against me through curtained windows. Yet every face looked normal when I turned to see. Dogs barked at empty streets, cars hummed with no passengers. Every sound echoed strangely, as if amplified by an unseen audience. At the diner, townsfolk laughed quietly at jokes I hadn't made. Their silence afterward pressed heavier than conversation, each pause a subtle accusation. The town square looked abandoned at first glance. Then I saw them, standing perfectly still, watching from every shadow, yet blinking and moving like mannequins in sunlight. I started counting windows during walks. Almost all had figures inside, frozen mid-action, heads turning subtly whenever I glanced away. I stopped going out after dark. Inside, the house felt smaller, air heavier, as if the watching seeped through walls and corners. The mailman left letters slipping under my door, unsigned, messages simple. They are here. Watch carefully. My hands shook reading them. Sleep became impossible. Curtains drawn, lights on, yet shadows in corners deepened unnaturally, shapes pressing closer in silence. I tried speaking to neighbors casually. Their eyes followed my every word, smiles intact, voices polite, but everything they said carried unspoken threat. One evening, I saw movement in my backyard. At first, a single figure, then dozens, all frozen yet aligned, staring at me from the tree line. Phone calls rang with no one on the other side. Static hummed into my ears, then whispers I couldn't understand, but felt in every bone. I documented every encounter, every sighting, but photographs revealed nothing. Empty yards, blank streets, yet I knew what I saw. Windows reflected crowds that weren't there. Mirrors multiplied the silent watchers, thousands staring back, yet no one existed outside my perception. I met a stranger in town who warned me quietly. They've always watched. Day or night, they notice everything. I asked who, but he vanished next day. Footsteps echoed behind me. I turned, street empty, yet the sound persisted, pacing my own steps, keeping rhythm with my heartbeat. Doors that should lock creaked open on their own. I would enter rooms to find furniture slightly rearranged, as if arranged for observation. Every attempt to leave town failed. Roads looped back to the same streets, the same silent windows, the same smiling eyes. In the grocery store, mannequins looked too human, frozen mid-motion, eyes tracking me, matching the expressions I had seen in neighbors' faces. Whispers followed me through hallways. I strained to hear them, but only caught fragments. He sees. She knows. Never forget. The local library contained stacks of old newspapers. I read reports of disappearances, all clustered around the edges of town, always at night, always unremarked. I started leaving notes on my door. I see you too. Some vanished overnight, some rearranged into patterns I couldn't decipher. One night, I dared peek through the blinds. The entire street stood still, every person staring toward my house, head slightly tilted, shadows long and unnatural. I realized the pattern. Their silence hid awareness. Their stillness concealed intelligence. Watching wasn't passive. It was active, controlling, waiting for a single misstep. A whisper came through the vent, soft and unmistakable. Why do you linger? I froze, heart pounding, the town itself seeming to inhale around me. Windows glowed faintly in synchronized rhythm. The silence was no longer comforting. It was a trap, a net woven of countless eyes. The next morning, footprints appeared around my house, wet, precise, encircling every wall. No one had entered, yet each print told a story. I left notes in the streets. I am not afraid. Responses appeared overnight, small scratched letters on sidewalks. Yet you should be. I packed, intending to flee. Roads twisted, buildings shifted, the town reshaping itself to keep me inside its gaze. Even now, far away, dreams return. Streets empty yet crowded, eyes wide, smiles fixed. I warn others quietly. The silent crowd never forgets, never blinks, and always watches. Everyone disappeared except me. I moved into the old house for its quiet charm, unaware the neighborhood had a rhythm of absence, a silence so thick it pressed against my chest. At first, it was subtle as shadow flickering outside my window. When I turned to look, gone before I could focus. I told myself it was a trick of light, the wind rustling tree branches, or a neighbor passing by. But then I noticed patterns. Lights across the street extinguished in sync whenever I opened a window. My cat hissed at empty doorways. Footsteps echoed in hallways when no one was home. Mail stacked untouched for days. No neighbors ever waved, never a sound, just a quiet town frozen in absence. One night, I awoke to tapping. A figure crouched just beyond the glass, silent, head tilted, eyes reflecting moonlight. I froze, breath shallow. The tapping persisted, like a rhythm meant to hypnotize me, or mock my awareness. I tried calling someone. No signal. My phone battery drained rapidly, flickering between 1% and 0. In the mirror, reflections seemed delayed. My own movements were mirrored with a lag, as if the world outside my window had paused. The shadow returned at dusk. 9 figures, crouched, thin, silent, noses pressed to glass, waiting, watching. I thought they might leave, They didn't. Each night, the count grew. 11, 15, more, multiplying like a dark fungus along the edges of reality. Footsteps sounded upstairs, then downstairs. No doors opened, no wind stirred. Only the sound of someone or something moving in rhythm with my pulse. I left notes in windows. Please leave. They vanished overnight, replaced by symbols scratched into the glass. Triangles, spirals, circles intersecting unnaturally. The town grew quiet. Shops closed, streetlights went dark. No cars, no voices, just the growing weight of observation. I tried escaping. Streets twisted back, looping into themselves. Houses rearranged, doors appearing where walls should be. A neighbor, or someone resembling one, appeared at my window. They whispered my name softly, just barely audible over my pounding heartbeat. The figures now wore robes, masks, faces frozen in expressions of devotion. They were a cult. I understood before it was spoken. They weren't here to rob or kill. They were here to observe, to document, to worship. And me. One evening, I counted 37 faces pressed to the glass. When I blinked, they were 42. I barricaded doors. They appeared inside, kneeling silently, tracing their fingers along walls and floorboards, leaving ichor-like smudges in the shape of symbols. I hid under the bed. They circled the house, a silent hum filling the air, faint whispers threading through the cracks. The ceiling warped. Shadows stretched unnaturally. The figures' eyes glimmered through the plaster, noses twitching, teeth showing faintly under masks. I screamed, but no sound emerged. The world swallowed it, feeding it back in a distorted echo. Each night, they grew bolder. Candles ignited themselves. Doors slammed shut. The air thickened, smelling faintly of sulfur and roses. I tried sleep. Dreams were no refuge. The cult appeared, silent, standing in formation, mimicking my daily movements perfectly. Food vanished from the kitchen. My clothes folded themselves, laid out neatly as if anticipating my next actions. I attempted a journal. Symbols appeared between my words overnight, messages in a language I somehow understood. You are ours. Mirrors reflected not me, but the figures, kneeling, bowing, pressing hands together in worship, noses twitching with unnatural excitement. I ran to the street. Pavement cracked, houses shifted. The town itself became a labyrinth designed to keep me inside. I called the police. Empty streets, no signals, no response. Only the ever-present tapping, the rhythm I could not escape. One figure approached inside, masked, robed, long fingers tracing my face lightly. I flinched. It bowed, retreating, leaving a faint warm mark on my cheek. Time fractured. Night and day overlapped. The figures appeared, disappeared, multiplied, and shrank, a living shadow orchestrating my life. I whispered warnings to myself. Never leave windows open, never make noise, never look away. I barricaded the attic, basement, every doorway. They appeared behind me anyway, watching from angles my eyes could not reach. I realized the truth. I was alone, truly alone, but never unobserved. The cult existed solely to watch me. Even now, as I write this quietly, I feel their gaze through every reflection, every glass pane, every shadow just beyond the corner of my vision. I warn you quietly. If you move into a quiet town, if you notice shadows that linger, if the streets are silent run, they may already know your name.